What is up, everyone? TCT here again, and welcome to the It's Showtime podcast hosted by me, TCT. And today I have a few topics I want to talk about. It's not going to be a very long podcast, I don't think. But today I want to talk about the benching of Dwayne Haskins Jr., Kyle Allen, and Alex Smith and their role that they had on Sunday. Now, for those of you who are saying that I told you so about Dwayne Haskins, guys, to me, from what I saw out of Kyle Allen to start that game, he already looked a little bit better than Haskins did. A lot of the problems were, it's the offensive line, like everybody knows it is, and it's the rain coming down, and the team is just really dysfunctional right now. And I'm glad Rivera put Allen out there to see what he had, and then he took a dirty hit. And Alex Smith came in, and everybody's like, well, if they can't win with Alex Smith, they can't win at all. I was like, guys, we know they're not going to win. Like, it's a rebuild year. The point is that Alex Smith, who has not played a game in almost 2 years, who almost died because of an infection in his leg because of that gruesome injury he had against the Houston Texans, is back in the game. Can you guys please just give him a little bit of praise? And people were just bashing him. It was like, if they can't win with Smith, guys, Smith hasn't played a game in 2 years. Calm down a little bit, please. I mean, that's all I really want to say about it. Dwayne Haskins, I don't really know if he was sick or not. They're saying he had stomach bug. Choose to believe what you want. To me, I think it's awfully convenient that the week he's sitting, he has a stomach bug. I truly believe that he is faking that. But if he's not, that's, I don't know. I don't want to say if he's faking it or not and he's actually really sick. But to me, he could have at least let people know that he was sick. But the way he was acting this weekend is just totally unprofessional. Sick or not sick, I mean, you have a responsibility to be with your team and be for your team. And if you ever want to be a leader, you need to, let people know that you're okay, you're at home because you're sick. He didn't do that. We had to hear it from the media that he was sick. I heard it on Fox NFL Sunday that he was battling a stomach bug. And I'm like, that's not where I want to hear this. I want to hear it from him. So it makes it look ugly to me, and there's trade rumors going around that he might be traded. You know what? If they trade him, I really don't care anymore. They need draft picks. They need to rebuild that offensive line desperately. Losing Brendan Sheriff really hurt them. Losing Trent Williams really hurt them. Morgan Moses is not playing the greatest because he doesn't have support. He's probably the best lineman they've got, and he doesn't have support, and they can't even get out of the backfield sometimes. Like, I felt bad for Alex Smith and Kyle Allen yesterday. They had to do so many tosses to the running backs, and this is where I think they're better than Haskins. Haskins was always putting those balls into the dirt. These guys, they might have overthrew one every now and then, but they were hitting them right on the money, at least giving, Gibson a shot and giving McKissick a shot to make some plays. But the offense is awful, and it really puts a lot of pressure on the defense to go out there and get stops against an incredibly good Sean McVay-driven offense in the Rams. Now, people are like, oh, they can't even beat the Rams. It's like, guys, I don't think the goal is to beat the Rams. I think the goal is to try to win the division. And now with Dak Prescott out, and Lord knows after seeing that injury yesterday, yes, I did watch that game, and my God, I think he's going to be out for the season. If I was him, I wouldn't even try to play unless, they're really making a playoff push and he can go. I don't know. Andy Dalton is a good quarterback. I think he needs to heal his foot. I think his season's definitely over. But the way Dalton performed in that fourth quarter yesterday was pretty good. And I'm a little nervous now because they've got Andy Dalton, and that's going to be different. And Dallas is now leading the East. So, Washington, you have got to beat New York. And New York looked awesome yesterday. But granted, they looked awesome against one of the worst defenses in the league. But then again, who's to say we don't have a good defense either? By the way, I just want to make this known. Landon Collins, you definitely do not need to be on this team. They paid you way too much money to blow coverages. Then when you get a tackle in the backfield, you start standing over the guy like the Hawk going, ah! Yeah, you really did something special with that one tackle, bud. And then you let a 40, a 50-yard pass go, and then they go down and score because of your blown coverages. You're standing there like a freaking statue. You're not looking at defenses. You're looking at the ball. You need to look at your men. If you guard your men, then you look back to the ball and see if the ball's coming. You don't stand there and look at the quarterback the entire time. I noticed that yesterday. Like during some of the replays on those routes he was getting burned on, he stood there and he looked at the quarterback the whole time. He didn't look at his man. He didn't try to guard his man. He looked at the quarterback. That's why he's getting burned. Plus, he's slow and out of shape. You can tell. You can easily tell Landon Collins is a bust. Dan Snyder and Bruce Allen and all those guys paid way too much money for that guy. He needs to be cut at the end of this season. I'm sorry to say, I don't care what kind of waivers you got to put on him, what kind of money you got to pay him. Get rid of this guy. He is bringing the defense down. Kendall Fuller is the best player on the defense in the secondary right now as a corner. He is picking balls off left and right. He's giving us golden opportunities, but man, the offense really needs to step up, and it's all because of the offensive line. Look, they don't take any shots downfield because they don't have time to throw downfield. And everybody's like, well, y'all said the same thing about Haskins. It's like, no, Haskins would have took the shot downfield and overthrew the guy by 10 yards. Okay, I seen Alex Smith throw a beautifully thrown ball to Terry McLaurin yesterday that was just outside his reach. If Terry had been maybe a foot more, but it was the ball that he needed. He dove for it, and it was just off his fingertips. That's the way you need to do it. You don't overthrow the guy by 10 yards. You don't do that. You don't throw the ball into the dirt when you're doing a screen pass. That's what Dwayne Haskins was doing. He was throwing the ball into the dirt, and I do not like that. You know, I'm not, like I said, I'm not saying the guy's bad. I'm saying Washington's going to end up trading this guy. He's going to end up trading him. They're going to end up trading, and I think they need to do that now before the deadline in order to get some good valued picks. I don't know. This could have been a ploy by Ron Rivera. I have a theory that I want to test with people. Did he play Dwayne Haskins in order to get some film on him because he didn't want him to begin with? He played Dwayne Haskins for 4 weeks maybe so that other teams could take a look at him so that he could trade him. It feels like that. I don't know why. It just feels like Ron Rivera just put him out there so that other teams could have footage of him. And then when he traded him, he's like, well, you got the footage from the first 4 games and then the games from last year. You know what? That could have been very well the possibility. Because you could easily tell that he doesn't want Dwayne Haskins to be the starter. He did say that Alex Smith would still be the backup, that Kyle Allen, if he could go next week, he's going to go. And I think that is a smart move for now. Alex Smith does not need to be behind this offensive line. He was sacked like 6 times yesterday, and every time he got hit, like my nerves were just gone. Like I was like, oh my God, please, 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 please get up, please get up. It was scary. I mean, it was a great moment to see him come back out on the field with his wife and his kids there, but man, was I scared every time he took a hit. Then he popped up. I'm like, okay. Now, run the ball. Keep this guy safe. I was like, I know we're not winning this game, okay? We're down 30-10. Just run the ball. Keep the guy safe. Try to get a little bit of rhythm. They didn't do that. They're going away from the running game so much, and the running game is what made the Redskins, and now they're not the Redskins. So like, well, we're going to try to pass every down. That's where you're getting in trouble. You need to establish a run. Get poor Gibson, man. He's so explosive, but he's not a power back, and that's where they're missing Adrian Peterson. And everybody's like, well, bring AP back, bring AP back. You're not going to be good until you bring AP back. Hey, guys, trolls who were on Facebook, who were on, Ron Rivera's press conference saying you need to bring AP back. He is in Detroit now. There is no possible way you can bring AP back without giving up something in the process. So you guys need to start thinking clearly. It's not going to happen. AP is not coming back. We had him. Okay? We had him. We gave him up. Was it a good move? In my book, no. But did I understand the move? I did. He wanted to go with younger backs. He wanted to train them. This wasn't going to be a year where we made the playoffs. It really wasn't. It wasn't going to be a year we made the playoffs. This was going to be a year where he wanted to see what we had so that he can clean house at the end of the season of the people who didn't belong here and try to build from there. And it's really difficult to do that with COVID. And then now he's battling cancer. This guy is getting beat up for losing games that we knew he was going to lose. And then benching Dwayne Haskins, it's like, guys, he's the coach. Let him do what he wants to do. He's the coach. If he doesn't do good after 2 years, 3 years, then let him go. But you got to give him an opportunity to try to change this team. All I saw out of Haskins was whining, was showboating, was not caring about the game. Like there's clips of mic'd up on Washington Football Tonight, which used to be Redskins Nation. There's clips of him mic'd up saying, I need an orange Gatorade. I can't do this without an orange Gatorade. I need some Sour Patch Kids. You got any Sour Patch Kids in that bag? I was like, dude, take the game seriously. Who cares about candy and water? And come on. Like he's playing around too much, and that's what Ron Rivera needs to correct with that guy. That's why he didn't like him. He had no attitude. And they're like, well, he said a speech in the Eagles game and they went out and won that game. It's like, whoop-de-doo. Anybody can do that. That doesn't mean he believed a word in what he was saying. He should be doing that every week then, shouldn't he? Because they're losing at halftime every week. I thought yesterday Kyle Allen came out and he did pretty good in that first quarter until he got hit. The problem yesterday was when he got hit, they brought in Smith, and I think they were afraid to use Smith, but then the offensive line didn't give him an opportunity, and he panicked a little bit because he hadn't been in that situation in 2 years. Smith's going to take time, guys, but I think Kyle Allen, his accuracy was pretty good yesterday. He was doing well. He started the game, 6 for 7 or 8 for 9. He started the game on point. He rushed in for a 10-yard touchdown, something that Haskins wouldn't have even thought to do. He'd have threw the ball into someone else's hands. I mean, he did well. But everybody's going to bash him. I told you it wasn't all Dwayne Haskins. We knew that. But is Kyle Allen the right choice? At the moment, I still believe so. I still believe Kyle Allen's the right choice to help to build this offense. And if he's not, I don't care. Because Dwayne Haskins was not playing smart football. He needs to work on his accuracy. And in my book, I don't think Ron Rivera is going to play him anymore this season. And by the end of the month, I do not believe he's going to be in Washington anymore. I believe they're going to trade him for some desperately needed picks, in which I believe last year they shouldn't have picked him anyway. I believe last year, and I said this last year, they needed an offensive lineman or a wide receiver or a running back. They didn't need any more defensive players because we knew Chase Young was probably going to get picked this year. They didn't do it. They went with Haskins. They went with the Dan Snyder pick. I did not like it. Just like I really wasn't impressed with the RG3 pick. I told people Nick Foles was going to have a better career, even though he's probably not a better athlete. People are saying he's a bum. It's like, guys, he's still around. He's got a Super Bowl ring. What more do you want from a bum? Foles probably would have done better in the situation than RG3. He probably would have stayed healthy. He could very well still be in Washington had they went with him. We don't know. To me, I think Foles has had incredibly better career than RG3. RG3 was hurt at Baylor. He was hurt at Baylor. So drafting an already hurt quarterback that had already tore one ACL, that's where the problem ignited. And then Mike Shanahan playing him in the Seahawks game. If they'd have took him out of that game at halftime, Washington would have won the game, and he would have been all right to play the next week. And they could have went deep into the playoffs, I think, because they were crushing Seattle in that first half. And then he got hurt, and it all went downhill. And my thing is they should have protected him a little more. But also, he didn't learn how to slide right. He was always trying to get the first down rather than protect himself. So the next year he comes out, I'm going to be balling. And he starts off pretty good, and then he breaks his leg. And it's like, okay, this guy's a human toothpick. Because he is. Every time he gets touched, snap. In which it was awesome to see him last week in Baltimore. And thank you for the present, Robert. You threw a nice interception to Washington. So that was pretty good. It was pretty good football play by you, buddy. So I'm just going to say, look, I like RG3. I think he's a good personality. He's a good guy. He did not need to be put in that situation. Every time a quarterback comes, this is why I don't like drafting quarterbacks, because every time a young quarterback comes here, this team cannot develop them, which is why I always say go out and get a veteran like they did with Alex Smith. Alex Smith was doing really well here before he got hurt. We were 6-3 on the way to winning the NFC East because it was going to happen. They were on fire. And he gets hurt, and then the whole season, ever since then, Washington has not been able to recover. Then they got rid of Deshaun Jackson. They got rid of Pierre Garçon. They got rid of Adrian Peterson. Now they're really struggling. My thing is when losing Pierre Garçon really hurt Washington. Can you imagine Pierre Garçon and Terry McLaurin in the same lineup? Oh, my God. And then Jamison Crowder, why did you give him to New York? Why did you not sign that guy down? That dude is a weapon. I loved the pick out of Duke when they picked him a few years ago. I was like, Jamison Crowder is going to be a good wide receiver, and he is. He's the only receiver that the Jets have right now. Really is. So I don't know why they just don't sign people down, but they'll sign Ryan Kerrigan down, and as soon as they sign him down, he's not playing worth anything right now. And I love Ryan. I think Ryan's great. The problem is he's not giving them any help because he's starting to get up there in age. It's time to go in another direction with these guys. I don't know what else to tell you. They're missing safeties. They need some good safeties. Troy Apke was praised in training camp, and then we see him in a regular season game, and he's burned every single time. It's like, this is the guy you were praising? Dude, you need to play better. But other than that, Washington, you guys need to step it up. You got New York this week. You got Dallas, and then you got New York again. You got 3 division games coming in the next month. So I think the New York game is winnable for you guys. And if you don't think it's winnable, then something's wrong with you. I believe you can beat the New York Giants. You're not that bad. Okay, and if you are, then none of you guys deserve to be out there. Dallas is going to be a tough one. I already know that. They have one heck of a wide receiver core. Okay, you might be able to walk on their defense a little bit, but their wide receiver core is going to light Landon Collins up. If I'm Ron Rivera, I'm sitting Landon Collins the rest of the season and putting him in a backup role. Okay, that's just my opinion. This guy has, you know what? Move him to linebacker for all I care. Put someone He's not a bad tackler when he's on the line of scrimmage. When he's back there at safety, this guy cannot keep up. So, yeah, I do not like Landon Collins. I think he is highly overrated. That's why New York let him go to begin with. So he needs to show up or he needs to go home, plain and simple. But, yeah, now I want to get into some things. This week, I finally, I've been wanting to watch it for a little over a year now, and I finally was able to sit down this weekend and watch The Last Dance, the Michael Jordan documentary. Oh my God, it was so good. I had no idea. Like when I was a kid during that dynasty. Like I was a '92 kid, so I grew up in the middle of the Jordan era, like right in the middle of the Chicago Bulls run. And I would remember just sitting there. My kindergarten photos are wearing a Jordan uniform. I had Jordan shorts. I had the black Chicago 23 jersey on, sitting on the podium taking my school picture. I love Michael Jordan. Okay, when I was a kid, from 3 years old on, I was a Michael Jordan guy. Okay, I would sit there every time the Bulls were on TV. My mom would be like, "The Bulls are on." I was like, "What channel?" And turn on the living room, and I'd sit in front of the TV, and my mom would just take pictures. It's like he's loving Michael Jordan because Jordan would drop 40 or 50 points a game some nights, which is unprecedented these days. I mean, sometimes you see LeBron get that high, but I mean, to drop almost every single game 40 or 50 points, jeez, man. And then only end up scoring a grand total of 89 some nights. It's like, well, Jordan scored probably 70% of y'all's points. Y'all didn't need to do anything. And they knew that. My favorite team is the 97-98 Bulls. That's my favorite NBA team of all time. You had Steve Kerr. You have Kuchuk. You had Scottie Pippen, Dennis Rodman. I mean, you had Michael Jordan. I mean, those guys, whew, I loved it. I loved it so hard, man. It was such a great squad there. And there was the Last Dance squad. Like, when I was a kid, I was like, where's Michael Jordan? Because I knew he was still young. Like, he was still in his early 30s. And I asked my mom, I was like, where's Michael Jordan? Because the next season come around and he was not there. She's like, he retired. I was like, again? Oh, don't worry. He'll come back. He didn't come back. Then in 2000, he joined the Washington Wizards. I'm like, because I live near them. So it's like, okay, let's go see Michael Jordan. Could not get a ticket. Could not get a ticket to see Jordan. You know why? Because they would sell almost all of them out because it was Michael Jordan. And I was like, well, at least I can watch him on TV again. And he did well. He did pretty well in Washington. He wasn't the greatest like he usually was because he was getting up there in age. But, yeah, he did very well. So I was impressed. All the mayhem though that they went through during that run, like that documentary just uncovers it all, man. The gambling problems, his father's death, the retirement. He was a pretty good baseball player. Everybody's like he had a horrible baseball career. He hit 200, guys. Like maybe he couldn't hit a curveball because he hadn't practiced yet, but he hit 200 out of that whole season. That was pretty good for a guy who had not played since he was like 13. So Jesus. Michael Jordan is just an all-around athlete. But to see those old games, they did a great job at cleaning up film footage, by the way, because all that footage back then was shot on film, and that it looks golden right now. 4K, no static. I don't know how they did it. They got all the ripples out of it. Like the game footage looks almost brand new today. Maybe not as 4K as you'd want it to be, but they cleaned a lot of it up. Man, like those moments you see, where they're fighting the Pistons. That was my favorite part of the documentary is when they were fighting the Pistons. Jordan and Isaiah Thomas's rivalry to this day is one of my favorite rivalries in all of basketball. Even though I wasn't really old enough to see that rivalry, I've seen like all the games of that. I went back as a kid. I had like a Jordan's Best Games tape, and I had the Pistons and the Bulls on there, and I love watching that. That was awesome, and then to see his rivalry with the Jazz, wow, it was so good. And then the Hornets, his rivalry with Larry Bird and Charles Barkley, Patrick Ewing. Those guys, I grew up watching Charles Oakley. Oakley used to be a Bull, and then he got traded to the Knicks. I mean, that was, and then Jerry Krause, for the love of God. That guy put together a great organization, but he was a douche. He was a major douche to those guys. And I don't blame Jordan for leaving. I really don't. I love the fact that one of my favorite images is when he's playing in the Olympics. When I was a kid, I was seeing the Dream Team game and stuff, and I'm like, oh, he's got an American flag over. I didn't know the story behind it because I was too young to see it. He's got an American flag over his shoulder. It's like, well, there's a reason he's got an American flag over his shoulder. He didn't want to show the Reebok logo because he had a deal with Nike. So he didn't want to show the Reebok logo on his jacket, so he draped the American flag over his shoulders when they got the gold medal in order to hide the Reebok logo. And I'm like, man, that was genius. Because he was trying to get his Jordans, to start rising in the market. And then he had the contract with Nike, and he did not want to wear a Reebok logo. But they forced him to do that. And they said, well, you're not going to get your gold medal if you don't wear this Reebok logo. He's like, all right, I'm going to wear the Reebok logo. Doesn't mean I have to show the Reebok logo. You guys said wear the Reebok logo. So he put an American flag on his shoulder. And it's an iconic image of him holding the flowers and having the American flag over his right shoulder. And it's like, yeah, it's a great image. But to know the backstory behind that, wow. I mean, that was incredible. It's very incredible. That documentary is one of the best documentaries I've seen. And I've talked about watching other documentaries. I still say Never Sleep Again and Crystal Lake Memories were, great horror movie documentaries about Freddy Krueger and Jason Voorhees. But this Michael Jordan documentary is probably the best one I've seen. It is a great 10-episode watch. It's about 50 minutes an episode. So you can take your time. I watched it in like a day or two. I watched some in the morning. I watched some in the evening, in between things I was doing during the day. And I would stay up to like 1 in the morning. I would watch it from like 9 at night to 1 in the morning. And then I'd go to bed and then get up and watch maybe 2 in the morning and then watch the rest, the next night. And man, it was that. I'm going to definitely watch it again. I love that documentary. I want other people to know about it. I want other people to see it. Those were some crazy times. And the media were really driving Jordan out of basketball. That was one of the big driving forces because he has a moment in the documentary where he's in his hotel room. He's on the couch. He's smoking a cigar, and he's just laying there in the quiet. And he told the camera guy, he goes, it's nice and peaceful in here until you guys walk in here. And they're like, what do you mean? He's like, I like being left alone, and this is the only time in my life I can never be alone because as soon as I go out that door, the spotlight is on me. And I'm like, wow. To have to live with that. Every time he goes out of his home door, like wherever he is, he's in his hotel room, he's in his house. Every time he goes out of his door, the spotlight is turned on, the cameras are rolling, and the microphones are in his face because he's Air Jordan. He's Be Like Mike. He is the king of basketball right now, in those days. And to see that and to know that, he did all that for these people and then to get ridiculed by the media the way he was. Like people were even bringing up that his gambling problems got his dad murdered. We don't know that. His dad pulled over to take a nap in the car, and someone saw a nice car. It's like the scene you see in Logan. Someone sees a nice car, they try to rip it off, and when he's woke up, he's shot, and he's thrown in the river. It could have happened to anyone. And the fact that the media were trying to make up stories is like, well, he gambles on the golf course. It's like, yeah, but he's good for it. Like, well, he's gambling $10,000 a hole. It's like, you think Michael Jordan ain't got $10,000? Like, for real? This is one of the richest guys in the world. Like, $10,000 to him is like $10 to you. It's nothing. So just leave him alone. He even told the media in the documentary, they asked, do you have a gambling problem? He goes, no, I don't have a gambling problem. He says, I have a competitiveness problem, like a competition problem. He's like, I always want to be the one to win, but I enjoy gambling. I mean, it's not something like I can always stop. He says, I can always stop. I just don't stop because I have fun doing it. He says, but if you guys were to tell me to stop, I'd never do it again. I was like, I don't have that bad of a problem. I gamble because I want it to be turned into a competition. That's the way he explained it. He's like, if you have money on a hole, it makes the next person try harder to beat you. And that's what he wants. He wants to be able to beat you at your best. He's like, I don't care if we're playing cards for 10,000 or $10. I want that other person's money in my pocket. Genius. That was a good quote from him. Letting you know that I'm not a bad man. I'll just do some crazy things. Just like anybody who was rich would. But yeah, so guys, check out The Last Dance on Netflix, man. I mean, it came out in an episodic fashion, and I didn't watch it. I wanted to wait until the right moment to watch it. And man, I picked a good weekend because it was raining, and I'm like, you know what? It's raining. I don't feel like watching football right now. Let's watch The Last Dance. Sure enough, great documentary. Absolutely loved it. It's almost 10 hours, pretty close. It's somewhere in that 7 to 10 hour range, total. But they're in episodes, thank God, and they go through each year that Jordan played ball. So yeah, check out The Last Dance. Washington, I gave my thoughts on that. So you guys have anything to say? Remember, be respectful in the comments. Please be respectful in the comments so I don't have to ban you. I don't need to mute you. I don't want to mute you, but you got to be respectful. No name calling, okay? All right, so like, subscribe, favorite. Until next time, this is TCT. Have a great week, everybody.